Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Huddle by Goalster. Today, we're talking about humans, tech, and how to do more with less. And we have Rich Police here from the Honors College at Ashbrook University. Hey, Rich, how are you today?
Hey, Chelsea. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thanks so much for coming. And hey, Rich, if you could really quickly, in 2 to 3 sentences, sum up how to do more with less when you're working with a team, could you do that for us?
Yeah, sure. I found that a lot of times when we're working with the team, we're looking at like what the end result is as our signifier for what success is. But we've found that if we can really focus in on the behaviors and making sure that all of the team is doing their part and doing the right behaviors, that the end result and those numbers will naturally follow. So for us, we define success by everyone participating, doing the right behaviors. That's why Goalster's been a great partner for us, actually.
Great. Thank you so much. And we absolutely love to hear that. And as someone who's a firm believer of input versus output, I really, really want to dig into what you just said. So that's absolutely huge. When we're talking about paying attention to the input, what were you guys doing previous to using Goalster?
Well, so let me set the stage a little bit with universities in general are coming to a place where they're struggling at recruiting students. There's a ever diminishing pool. They call it the scary demographic cliff. The ever diminishing pool of people who are interested in attending university. And so we actually had recruiters that basically had events and would focus on just sort of the bringing students to campus, but there wasn't necessarily a defined communication pattern or com flow or any particular trail that a rep was taking to be in contact with these prospective students. So that was kind of the situation before, and then moreover, more recently, we actually had a lot of turnover in that recruiting staff. So we had basically half of that staff was less than a year in experience. So the experienced reps weren't necessarily didn't necessarily have a day-to-day flow that they were expected to do, and the reps coming in of course weren't trained to follow any kind of day-to-day flow. And that's where the sea change for Goalster was very effective, because it allowed supervisors on that end to set expectations with those reps.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
So it sounds like Rich that in the beginning you have a lot of different reps because these are student reps, right?
but or typically they're recent graduates, but yeah, they're
Okay.
young. So
Okay, perfect. So they're coming in. We don't have anything documented, which I think in any sales role I've been in, I've seen that a lot, right? You get in, you figure out how to do it. Sometimes you're running by the seat of your pants, which is great sometimes and not so great other times. So when you guys were in this process of, figuring out exactly what to do, did you try some other things before partnering with Goldster?
well, it, so typically the way the previous administration ran things is they would have kind of a meeting. It's the general sales meeting where everyone's around the table, and there's sort of broad expectations that are kind of set, like, hey, our number is going to be this year, and we're gonna do it, and we're gonna hit it, right, guys? Yeah, it's a beginning like that. That was sort of, I think, the approach of the previous administration. We recognized, actually, just from previous experience, we recognized the Goalster was going to be something that could be plugged in um, right away for those younger reps and even some of those experienced reps to have um, a way for them to instantly feedback. And so it wasn't like that monthly sales meeting where it was like, okay, at the beginning of the year, we're going to get it. In the middle of the year, like, oh no, we're not going to get it. We have to do better. It actually was like um, a day by day, week by week, where the individual admissions reps themselves could look at just their behaviors and say, yes, we're doing well not just because randomly people are coming to the university, but because I'm doing the things that are expected of me, and I can and feedback directly with my supervisors from there. So
Mhm. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense to me. You know, it's always easier when you have that roadmap of success to guide you along the way and show you exactly, you know, what great looks like. So when you're going in, you're finding what great looks like, right? Because I think we've all been on teams that had hyper enthusiasm. We're so excited. And just like you said, and I've even been on one, I'll tell you, you know, where it's 2 weeks till the end of the quarter and we're like, holy smokes, we're whatever's short and now we have to go into this crazy overdrive. Whereas if we would do the things every single day that added up to get that output, to your point, it lets us know a lot earlier exactly what we're going to end up at, which is super helpful in leadership. So thank you. And when we look to best practices, how did you decide what best practice looked like for that role?
so I mean, any any recruiting position, sales position, these is really about human interaction.
Mhm.
So we started by making sure that our reps were having um, the the maximum amount of real life human interaction with these other students that are thinking about coming to college.
Mhm.
Um, and so from there, you start to set some baselines. So what does that look like? We're going to do some emailing. We're going to do some texting. We're going to do so all of these different digital tools that we want to leverage our analog skills through.
Mhm.
Um, so we start setting reasonable quantities for these reps to make sure they're making these kinds of contacts with these prospective students.
Mhm.
Um, but from there, the a supervisor can really get into a conversation about, well, okay, I see that you've been consistently emailing 20 people every day.
Mhm.
uh, what do those results look like? Well, if the person's emailing 20 people every day and no one ever responds to any of those emails ever, well, now you can get into like you have a different conversation. It's not a question of like, hey, are you doing the stuff? And then the employee kind of grumbles and like, yeah, I'm doing the stuff. Now the conversation becomes, well, what can we do to equip these emails and make them better, make them more effective? And even there you can kind of see other people on the team that maybe their emails or the things that they're sending um, are having the desired effect, and so they can partner up and you can get best practices, and then pretty soon before you know it, well, this best email practice is kind of going across um, the rest of the team, and so now we're all in it together, and it also doesn't feel like, because on an admissions team at the end of the year, the number is everyone's number. But sometimes you've been on teams where it's like, yes, the number is everyone's number, but certain teammates can feel like I'm doing most of this, and this, now this causes collaboration, and the expectation is collaboration,
Yeah.
and then it becomes contagious throughout. So best practices via, texting, emailing, just whatever the process, whatever, it could apply to almost any kind of sales process. But in our particular case, from recruiting, if you can get that those best practices to be contagious, um, real true excellence can come through. And again, by excellence, I mean the behaviors.
Yeah.
The results will ultimately follow.
I love that, Rich. I love that so much because you bring up an extremely important conversation, which for me used to be called that skill versus will conversation. So when I had different people on my team and someone might be falling behind, we really tried to look at and figure out how can we make this better. And ultimately it came down to this situation where do they know what to do and they're just not doing it, which that's a conversation we need to have, or is it the other side where it's they want to do it, but maybe we don't know just exactly what to do? So I love that you said that. And I
One other thing that we kind of actually came through this process is that um, sometimes you have somebody who doesn't know or doesn't think they're equipped to do the particular thing that you're asking them to do. It's not fun or pleasant to call or text or email out of the blue, And so somebody that's new to a role might feel, but they're also, when they're new to a role, they're really shy about saying, I don't know how to send this
Yeah.
email. So it might even be, and I'm not saying this occurred because I don't know, but it might even be, yes, the person's checking their box every day. Yeah, I sent 10 emails. I sent 10 emails. But then when you start to have that conversation, well, okay, we're sending all of these emails, but we're not getting any kind of result. Um, this sort of opens the door to re-equip or bring some confidence to the equipment that equipping that we've already done. And so we've even, I think, in those circumstances, we saw people get better. Maybe they weren't even doing the practice, but then maybe this was an opportunity to give them the tools to feel confident in doing the practice. And again, cold emailing is still not any of my team's favorite things to do, but they're a lot better at it.
Yeah. No, exactly. You just take away a little bit of that fear. It's like knowing that someone paved the way for you to go and do XYZ. You can put your own little spin on it, but this is what works. So if I know at least one thing that works and I consistently execute on that, I should have the intended results. So I don't know if this is a trick question or not, Rich, which I promised you I wouldn't do, but when we're in the platform, say I am, and I don't know if this has ever happened, but say I'm going and I'm doing something over and over and over and it isn't getting the intended results, what would you do then, or where would your head go?
Well, I mean, again, Goalster and the platform is an awesome digital tool that leads to an analog conversation. So at that point, you have the conversation with and with the person. If it was you, I would have the conversation, and we would just start to analyze. Well, what is the effectiveness? How much time are we spending doing this? Is this result only something that, like, the success isn't coming only with just you, but the rest of the team is having success? But maybe the rest of the team also equally isn't having a lot of success with it. And in that particular case, you can bring back some efficiency and effectiveness to your team by eliminating something that's not working.
Yeah.
I would even say, like, 5 years ago, most of our recruiting emphasis would have revolved around phone calls. Based on some market research and even just analyzing our own results, texting with 17 and 18-year-olds is far more effective. So, we can lighten the load on making phone calls. Parents like phone calls, but students, they have a tendency to like texting. So, and then if they realize that somebody is a real person on the other end at Ashland University texting with them, that connection becomes much more tangible and much more real to them. This is a person with, thoughts and feelings, and so you cut out practices that are wasting time and not providing results, not providing connection.
Yeah. And that's so important too, especially I'm even thinking about us right now. We go and sometimes we're not sure exactly how to get somewhere, so we try different things. And to your point, we have to meet people where they want to be met. So if that's parents on the phone, if that's students over text, like that's what we have to do to take the burden off of those people and meet them where they want to be met. And I think with us, when you do some of the trial and error, it's like, how do we know if this is going to work, if this is going to be exactly what we need? And what we can control is, do we show up every single day? Do we execute on what's there, on what's in that roadmap? And if so, it's not working, how soon can we pivot to still get those intended results by the time that we need them by? So,
Well, how often have we been part of an organization that kind of puts out a blanket policy and says, we're going to do this, and everyone sort of in the room is, okay, but I don't know if it's going to work that way. And how empowering is it for your employees to be able to have the feedback saying, we're making a lot of phone calls, but we're not having a lot of conversations, and we know based on the vision that's been set forth by the admissions office, that connection is the number one thing we want to do. But when we're making these phone calls, we're not really making connections. So how empowering is it for them to be able to feedback, and for their supervisors to say, you know what, you're right. We're going to shift to more texting.
Yeah. Holy
Which,
smokes.
by the way, is probably the desired. It's probably how they want to communicate too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it keeps everyone happy. Happy
yeah.
reps do better. Absolutely. No, that makes again, so much sense to me because I've been in different roles where I didn't know exactly how to or speak up, or how to say exactly, like, I don't know if this is gonna work. So it's good, you still want to show up and try it because that's been what's assigned to you, but it's really, really critical to be able to provide that feedback to your leaders and have that environment. And I think the human touch aspect of this is just really, really important. It sounds like you're getting feedback, and you're getting feedback person to person regularly, pretty regularly. Is that right?
Yeah, not me personally, but the head of admissions is. So I talk with him a good bit, just kind of on how that process is going. But yes, it's regular feedback, and he does an excellent job of being there and being positive, especially when his reps are doing what they're asked. And that, but like I said, that just opens the door to a much better conversation. It's not him snooping and checking up, because he already knows whether they're saying they're doing it or not. And
Yeah.
then it becomes more about praising them for what they're doing right, and encouraging them and building them through best practice and that contagious communication with their team.
Mhm.
Um, uh, that becomes more the emphasis.
Yeah. No, that's really great. Having that feedback is so critical, and just being able to sit down with someone and be given this roadmap. I think that's something a lot of people don't even have access to. So, kudos to you guys. And I do want to shout this out because I think I remember it right, but you guys year over year were up 46% in productivity. But I mean, that's huge, right? But let's
Oh
talk
yeah.
about some of the other wins that you guys have seen. Tell me all about it.
Well, again, I think the biggest win are when young people on our team can be the best versions of themselves and feel good about the job that they're doing. Then they're connecting with these other young people and opening the world that is Ashland University to these students that are out there that may not know us until these first kinds of meetings.
Mhm.
And so when you see that, like, in the fall, we're going to welcome to Ashbrook, where I work, is going to welcome the biggest class of Ashbrook scholars that we've ever had. We're going to have 81.
Wow.
Last year was the previous biggest, which was 61. And Ashland University is going to bring in their biggest class, I think, in 10 years. Um, all of those young people showing up on our campus to get the kind of quality education that I know that we give here,
Yeah.
that's a tremendous win. But aside from that, though, two people on the admissions team have received promotions. Actually, one of them double promotion. So
Holy
from the
smoke.
beginning of the year, has had two promotions, and that's, it's great to see young people being empowered to carry through this, kind of not just their day-to-day task, but to see the results and see these other people coming to campus, and just what that's. It's an exciting time at Ashland.
Yeah. I would love to be at Ashland. We have all these promotions. Everyone has exactly what it takes to be successful. It sounds like everyone's going there. What a good place to be. And so with you guys are having the biggest class. We're getting all of these promotions. People are empowered. We're focusing on input versus output, which that alone I do have to take a second for, because as someone who is in sales, it's a roller coaster. You can show up and put in all of the effort, but it might just not be your day, right? So having someone who celebrates, I see that effort, I see what you're doing and following along with it. I know for me, that would be huge in making me want to just continuing with those efforts if I haven't seen the outcome yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the quotes that I use with my team is Chuck Noll, who was the great Steelers coach in the 70s, says that champions are champions not because they do anything extraordinary, but because they do the ordinary things better than anyone else. And so we use that a lot. We say that a lot. Like, it's a question of, yes, you're not going to win maybe never every day doing the ordinary things better than everyone else. But if you consistently put in the work and do the ordinary things better than anyone else, the result is that you're a champion.
Yeah, the results will follow when you show up every single day. And it's, even if we look at, I feel like, the professional athletes of the world, it's like, what do? They show up, they execute the behaviors that they know are going to get them there, and they do it more than anyone else. And they just refine their craft and keep getting better. So I love to hear that. I think that just breeds superstars. And I can't wait to see what promotions you guys have next. And just to sum this up a little bit, right? You knew what the process looked like to have people repeat, to get them, all moving in the same direction. So we knew what that was. We plugged it into tech. After we plugged it into tech, we had what we thought great looked like in there, but we were still open to what people were saying, what was working, what maybe was not working or only worked with certain people. You guys you pivoted quickly, you took feedback, you were more productive. We're having all of these records at Ashland, all of these promotions, and it goes back to the fundamentals in focusing on behaviors. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Holy smokes. Okay. Well, I love to hear that because I'm also a firm believer that if you equip, your middle or your entire team with what those top performers have, you give everyone the chance to be what that is. I think talent is talent is great, but hard work will be talent when talent doesn't work hard. So thank you so much, Rich. Is there anything you want to add before we hop off? I think we have a few minutes left.
I mean, I would continue to say that the one thing I appreciate about Goalster is that with those young reps that we're onboarding,
Mm-hmm.
having so let's say all of the people who have been using Goalster all get promotions. What then? How are we going to replicate that? Well,
Yeah.
guess what? All of the behaviors are already built in. So when those new reps come in and they log onto the app, they have all the behaviors of the people who were successful before them. Now it might be a question of refining and coaching and making them as sharp as some of those previous were, but at least you're not starting from complete ground zero with just sort of a basic rudimentary welcome to Ashland, here's your HR packet, here's your you actually have a skill, or at least a roadmap of skills that that you need to acquire and work on. So, and the other thing I'm kind of struck by, even as we're just kind of we're having a conversation about technology, right? And Goalster is this amazing piece of technology. And of course, there's a lot of conversation out there in the world about AI and what is technology? How does technology make Goalster, while being technology, is, I think, really focused on like those analog skills and relationships, and that's one of the things I really like and appreciate about it. Is at the end of the day, it's not. Could we have AI more effectively email more people than individual or text or call or however? Probably, as from a quantity point of view.
Yeah, exactly.
But would the students on the other end, when they actually get emailed by a real person, and by the way, we've had multiple students are kind of shocked they answer a text and it's a real person then on the other end answering back to them. So it's sort of like, I know that's not the industry experience that they're getting, but the fact that they can actually talk to a real person, and that Goalster is sort of like the technological apparatus that's designed to connect connect our people to the outside and connect our team to each other and connect supervisors to their team in an effective way that doesn't make them feel like they're being, overmanaged. I think that's a critical key to what all this can be.
Yeah. We just talked about this a few webinars ago, about humanity being the kind of secret sauce to selling these days, because people are going to Chat GPT or XYZ tool, whatever it is, there's a million, and they're just plugging in different things, or they're using mass automation to do these jobs. And while automation, of course, always is going to have a place. It helps scale, it helps save time. I totally get that. We do have to be careful when we're going out and talking to other humans, because like you said, people want to talk to people, not to machines. And I like to think that we have a little bit better conversations than, a chatbot online. I would hope so, at least.
Yeah. Well, people are weird and wonderful, right? So it's like you're never going to get that out of an AI chatbot. Like it's this, the world is a lovely place with lots of strange mysteries, and that's I really enjoy that. I really enjoy that connection still is so vital and so important, not just in sales but in life.
Yeah, absolutely. We're teaching life lessons today, Rich. No, but thank you so much for coming today, for doing this with us. We love having you as a partner, and we'll probably have to have you back soon to talk about the next 6 promotions or
Right, exactly.
yeah, whatever's going on there. But yeah, thanks again, Rich, and we'll see you soon.
All right, my pleasure.
Thanks, guys.